In Poland, different than in Japan, we do not call it micro-district but big housing estates. And it is the subject in many cases. Here you see the Prime Minister of Poland during the election campaign 2 months ago, when he announced that part of the program will be the election program will be the program friendly housing estate. The program is very short. On one slide I have the print screen of that program and the translation into English. It is interesting it is more to hear what voters say. So there is a question, why only big panels, not other technology? And what is interesting that for acoustic renovations of blocks and apartments, there are subsidies. So they know that it's hard to enter to people apartments, so people should be subsidized to make that on their own. There are also question why elevators only in house without that, not in house where they are not proper. And you see also photovoltaics on block of flats that can be used by residents. It is fitting in European Union programs. Thermal modernization of apartment blocks. It has happened in Poland already several times, but it is to happen again because the requirements are changing. Revitalization and construction of new parks and urban green zone at prefabricated housing estates. Why only at prefabricated? And then investment in parking lots and garages, but not at the expense of green areas. So the question if it's possible, and it shows that it is the most common request what people have. And with these parking lots, it is what I say, that in Constitution of Poland is written that public authorities pursue favorable policies meeting the housing need of citizens. But in fact, it is the parking needs that when you build house, you have to pay taxes by building parking lots. And again, in this program, the state does not manage in the last 2 terms of this party to do housing program, but now they said that they will support building parkings from the state budget. And now what we call it, it is osiedle, like estate settlement. It's sometimes also translated neighborhood, and it is called blokowisko, which was a bit pejorative, and blokersi for people who live there. And in 2017 was the film Bloki, which was very apologetic, how good are these bloki. And it is the effect of many actions. One was the Society for the Improvement of Housing Environment Odblokuj, like from block again. Odblokuj is unblock it. And they have 3 times events on settlements. On one, it is the pavilion, which is one of a 1-to-1 scale model of the typical apartment at this settlement. There were also projects by invited architects to how to remodel this apartment. In next edition, there were workshops with selected inhabitants, how to change their apartment. And then later on, one woman from this society became city architect of the capital city of Warsaw. Other initiatives, it is established in 2018, the city of Lublin is Museum of Housing Estate. It is NGO-based, and it shows the history, the stories of the people. There is assembly of housing estates around this museum. They work with local subject, but also around where they go to other countries. They invite people from other countries. They also have the lesson for the school children and also for the students. They made also a program that Erasmus students were presenting the housing estates from their countries. And it is in the complex of pavilions with services for inhabitants, and it is located there. They also fight that the pavilions which you see on the left down corner not to be destroyed. Other example is the artist Julita Wójcik has made in knitting wool the model of the house which is called to be longest in Poland, in Gdańsk, so-called Falowiec, which means wavy buildings, which has, which was an example of the bad image of, because it was on the seaside, so very high, very windy. It is 800 meters long. It is one of 12 such buildings in the city of Gdańsk. And then it also has had a very bad image, but now this image, it is part of the image change. And now people say that it is much better what developers built in the area nearby. And also one of the change of image is on the left-hand side is there was an exhibition in Gdańsk, Unwanted Heritage. I gave to Niels 4 copies of the book from the conference. It is trilingual, also in English, German, so maybe you can ask Niels if you can see it. It was Unwanted Heritage. Other book is Badly Born or Low Born. It was on modernist, not only housing estates, but these books followed to change of the image. And now you see the popular book, the guide books to the blokowiskos, these housing estates. These are just 3 examples of the book published about these settlements in different cities. There is also a group, Zupa Grafika, which publish, you can buy the models of the modernistic buildings, including the multi-story housing blocks. Here you see the woman with her model of block in her hand and the block where she lives behind her. They started from Poland, but they do from other countries like East Germany, or also from concrete Siberia, the brutal Britain, Brut Italia, and so there is a big, and there is also a book Tenants, which shows the photos and short stories of the tenants. One is from Riga, Tetiana from Plawnieki, Riga. I have lived here for 30 years. I used to work in a factory that produced those panels. Turned out that I built a house for myself. Again, she is holding in hand a model of her house, which you can buy in Zupa Grafika. This is from Kyiv. This is from Warsaw, za Żelazną Bramą, which means behind the Iron Gate. It is the big settlement of 19 same-looking buildings in the very center of Warsaw. And there, at the 2012, took place the exhibition in the vitrines in the ground floors of the building called Warsaw Radieux, Le Corbusier come back behind the Iron Gate. So the French architect who introduced such type of building as somebody who was followed by the architect who built such estates. And this exhibition was showing in apologetic way that it is 1933, there was Athens Charter, which was saying that cities has to be built different, and 2012, and it is said that developers build so bad, and these modernistic housing estates are much better than that what developer say. So I think it is too simple, too simplified, and too apologetic as for me. And also there was the photo of Pruit-Aigo district, which was well known that it was destroyed in 1972 as an example of the death of modernistic architecture. And they say in the catalog and the exhibition that it was not the reason of architecture, but the reason of unsolved social problems. And this settlement, it is in very center. If somebody knows Warsaw, here is the Palace of Culture, here is railway station, and then up is this settlement, and you can see that it was partially densified, so these buildings are like rocks, and the new buildings are between them, but there is a border of district, and in district there is other cooperatives, so these have not densified, maybe because there was a place for unbuilt services, so they could build behind, not like this in this other district where it is built between the building, and And now you see this densification, which is just putting new building in between, creating like a Potyomkin street, which is very nice street, but behind there is not so good layout. And it is completely different. It is the same place before destruction Second World War. And as you can see, it was not fully distracted. So it was just architects who changed the layout of this part of the city. And what was interesting, that this densification could follow the workshop seminar which took place in 1986. There were architects from different countries. You see there are generally communist countries, plus Sweden, Finland, and Yugoslavia. And also you see that Latvia was not included. There was Soviet Union, where there was one team from Leningrad. And I also gave Nails the English version of this catalog. There were catalog Polish and English version, each 1,000 copies. And here is the introduction to the catalog. And it is, and I think it is very clever. So it is the architect who was at that time 40. Now he is 76. And what he has written, but what emerged yesterday is also even history. Even if the Żelazna Brama housing estate is alien to the downtown, dynamite is not the solution. Destruction is always only destruction. No one has a monopoly for a better future. Compilation is a future of a city. No exchange of a city substance has been complete. Might it be possible that the phenomenon of the Żelazną Bramą housing estate is the beginning of some new value? So he was a prophetic to this next exhibition. And here are the photos of existing state of the project of buildings, and then the projects for the workshops, where the idea was generally to put lower housing, to have traditional housing layout with the building included. The group from Finland has divided the big houses in two. Other groups were just surrounding them to create the layout which follows more to traditional city, but the existing, and I think it was much more clever than that what happened later in the 90s. And this, the author of this introduction to the catalog, when he was a student, he was in a team who won the competition for the new housing estate in suburbs of Warsaw. The idea was to make it very flexible with the special system that you can have shops, you can have flexible apartment where you can change the layout. But finally, this prefabrication system was not implemented, so they have to fill within the possibility of big slab system. But these apartments are very good. Now also everybody wants to live in this settlement, maybe also because there is a metro line. And then there was also idea to somehow to make a hybrid solution, something between modernistic and traditional. So the backbones should be pedestrian streets with the housing, you see left-hand side on the Schwarzplan, the development along the streets. But in the middle, there was to be big urban highway with metro line. This is a part which is on the left-hand side of as it is, and the segregation, then the traffic, it goes on the other level, then public. Inside the apartment, there should be a pedestrian street, but they did not manage to have shops in the ground floor, but system of these pedestrian streets, which leads people to the subway station, you see on the right-hand side, and there is this long yellow line in this urban highway. And there was also the system on the left-hand side photo, you see this red, there were to be shops, which most of them were initially not built. Then the blue are the green areas, And then there was a hierarchical system starting from the courtyard through the club of inhabitants, schools and kindergartens. You see the layout of school. There are also very interesting schools from that time, from 70s. And then yellow was to be secondary school, and also primary school was to be divided in other way. The kindergarten with first 3 years of school, then the next 5 years. And then this settlement in the 90s has been densified. So you can see that there were services not built, and also on the cost of parkings, some new houses were added. So you see also the traditional blocks there. And then you see that this which initially was to be urban highway, now it is the street with metro underneath, and then shops along the street. Then people are saying, inhabitants, that they do not have the view from the windows what they find bad. And then there is also by the church for the long time in the 1980s was built a church which was standing long in empty space, and now there are services around. And what is interesting there, you see this building. It is the private university. And the urban development, it was planned to have a school there. So in the urban plan, it was said that it's a place for education. So university was built in the middle of settlement, and then housing at the street. It should be opposite, but the housing cooperative has sold the plot to the private university, where it was the place for the education. And then this is the university, and then you see the next now plans which are made, which you see that it is said that you have to still have the green areas between the buildings. So you see here is the metro on the construction, and then more than 100 meters, but still the green area because now these settlements are as the value. The next settlement where you see there are the standards in Poland. We say that there were smaller apartments, smallest in the whole Europe. I don't know if it is true. And the architect had made the settlement which makes the flexibility to exchange of the apartment by the special furniture. It also has not worked. But this I show you as the example of the thermal renovation when they made tiles which are following the layout of the bricks which were initially of the elevation. Other solution is, you see, that while building with the balconies, we follow the layout of the mosaic. It is from Poznań, where the houses initially were covered with this mosaic, and then the inhabitants were invited to roll the digs that they could take part in choosing the layout for their apartment. But this is white, what architects like, and I think it is bad when it's older. And it is opposite to one of the authors called pastelosa. It is what we were doing for many years, that putting colors, and it is hated by many critics. And now everything is again white or gray as an opposition to this pastelosa. And then two last example. It is the senior graffiti project by the director of the cultural center in big housing estate in Lublin, where you see this place in the corner of the estate, and she did not like place in front, and there was a place of conflict between young people and old people. So she knew that she has to invite these two groups to make it together, and she made it together with them. Yes, 1 minute, and then they worked together, make a project, and how to connect these two groups. He decided that he has to make them to do something together before the project project. So she made that what to change the stereotypes, that she invited that these young people make graffiti lessons for the seniors. So then there is something what old can learn from the young. They made also before the project the painting on the wall inside the cultural center. It was following the Michelangelo creating of the words together with them. And then the last one is the project of the activist. Lublin is like American city with big streets, and one street was partially, and there are valleys, and over one valleys there was a viaduct which was built only partially. So the group of activists decided to plant it to make so-called green gates. So they make it on their own, but then it was supported by inhabitants, maintained together in cooperation with the priest from the local church. But in the year 2017, it was taken to maintenance by the city. It took long until it looks effective, but now it looks very great. Thank you very much.